Prepare your sneakers and drink some Kool-Aid. It's another episode of It Belongs in a Museum. I'm Andy,
Oh, I am drinking Hawaiian punch right now.
and I didn't research this episode, so if it's bad, you shouldn't blame me, although I guess I do have to
Eh,
edit these.
because life has been hectic across our two households for various reasons, which means I am allowed to do more episodes.
But today, correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking about the first American Doomsday cult.
Yes.
I know nothing about it. Besides that, I yield the floor.
I did tell you one thing about this guy. Because our story is about the leader of that cult for a good part of his life. And the cult pretty much ends after he dies. They kind of peter out.
So we could restart it if we wanted to.
Johannes Kelpius.
Really?
That is,
Yeah, I mean, I would have gone with Johann, but I guess that is Johannes.
yeah. Uh, he was actually born Johannes Kelp, but when he entered school, they Latinized his name, as was a thing, because he studied to become an alchemist. He was born in Transylvania.
Where all of our greatest characters do. Do you think he's in any relation to the Bathory family? I know that was your favorite
I
episode.
hate that episode so much. Yeah, he was a German pietist,
Okay.
a mystic, musician, writer, botanist, astronomer, and occultist.
And the very model of a modern major general.
Yeah, he had a group that went by a couple different names.
All I know is that they had a cave and you showed me a logo. And I don't
Yes.
know any context beyond that.
Okay, so being a pietist at that time, basically it was a group that splintered off from Lutherans. They were interesting. The guy who trained him was a guy who had predicted an end of times. It turned out not to happen. Spoilers.
Oh, man.
And so he kind of left the scene. But this man being Christian, air quotes, is important because that's why he goes to America.
Okay.
Because apparently they figured America was part of the Bible. And they
Which book?
Revelation.
Oh.
Yeah, so
If this somehow leads into the origin story of Bible Man, you will get bonus points.
uh Bible Man was a thing marketed to kids. There were a lot of VHS tapes of it.
I got dragged along to a live show of that where I had a legally distinct lightsaber toy for my troubles.
Honestly, there's a lot we could dissect about Bible Man.
Well, future episode, Bible Man confirmed.
Anyway, so this guy, Johann, he worked with a couple different people, but specifically a guy, his name was here's the thing. There's like three people who have almost the exact same name. There's Johannes Kelpis, but then there's Jacob Ernest, and then there's Johann Jacob Zimmerman. These are all three different people who all are basically in the same story.
Are there any Johannes Jingleheimer Schmitz?
I knew that joke was coming, and there was nothing I could do to prevent it. He studied under Johann Jacob Zimmerman, who was a mathematician, astronomer, and cleric. He thought he
Not a barbarian class.
No, he thought by using the stars and math he could predict the end times. So basically, Zimmerman gets a group of followers, and they're like, hey, the end times are coming. And I've done the math with my buddy here, Johann. We figured out when the end times are going to happen. And it's going to be, I believe they said it was 1690 was when the world was going to end.
And for all we know, it did.
Yeah, there's no way of knowing. So his plan was to go to a place in America, Philadelphia.
From the Bible, Philadelphia.
It is.
What?
Philadelphia is actually in the Bible.
I'm sorry.
It is named after a city in the American city Philadelphia is named after one in modern day Turkey that now goes by a different name that effectively has the same meaning.
I was just wondering if this was tied to the biblical story of King Nebuchadnezzar and his nephew who was born in West Philadelphia, but on the playground is where he spent most of his days.
No,
Where
no, no. I'm
are you vetoing the rest of
yes,
my
I am
Fresh Prince talk?
vetoing your Fresh Prince of Arabia,
Hang on, I need to call Will Smith. I have a great idea for a movie.
Fresh Prince of Persia.
Ubisoft, pick up my phone.
So, uh, Transylvanian people. So Zimmerman was the one like, we're gonna take 40 people
Mm-hmm.
that are part of our group,
Yeah.
and we're gonna go to Philadelphia because in the Bible, in the book of Revelation, specifically, I have it open here somewhere. Chapter 3, verse 7, the message to Philadelphia.
And the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these are the words of the Holy One, the true One, he who has the key of David, he who opens and no one will shut, and he who shuts and no one will open.
Yeah, it basically goes on and says, out of all these cities in the end time, Philadelphia is the one where all the real people were at, who were like,
And these people thought New Philadelphia, not original Philadelphia.
yes.
Were they hoping that the cream cheese would keep
I
them alive?
Okay, these people,
Are dumb.
they were
I'm sorry, I'm supposed to remain neutral.
they were occultists, mystics, and religious people.
And you got onto me for the Bathory story?
They were doing everything in their power to get superpowers. I am convinced. Because basically anything that promised a slight, like, oh, and if you get good at it, you can do magic. They were looking into it. Astronomy to see the future, and astrology, and anything that promised you can predict what other people are going to do and have power over them. These guys were at least interested in it.
Wonderful.
And so Zimmerman, sort of the guy training this guy, like, hey, Johann, let's go over here and we'll go to Philadelphia where all the real people are at, and we'll throw ourselves into that prophecy.
The cheesesteaks alone will sustain us through the end times.
And they got there, and immediately Zimmerman died.
Okay.
And 27-year-old Johann Kelpius became the leader.
Okay.
He's 27 years old and now the leader of a cult of 39 other people.
So this is in a way America's first startup company.
Well, he inherited it.
Yeah, I mean, do you think startup companies just... Do
Yeah.
you think they earned their money?
Yeah, they needed seed capital. So they went to, I believe it was called, it was a very on-the-nose name, but it was already established, Germantown. It was on the outskirts of Wissahickon,
Sure.
and sort of the outskirts of Philadelphia.
But did they get in time for Oktoberfest?
At the time, it was very small. It was like 500 buildings, and that was the town. Yeah. So they were able to do a lot of good there. They started establishing some schools, some community centers, building up stuff.
I'm sure the schools were definitely teaching facts and not at all
well,
conspiracies.
Here's the thing about piety people, pietists. They like to be more secluded. They're about internal stuff. So they actually weren't doing a whole lot of. They were like, yeah, we'll build a place for us to meet occasionally, and you guys can use it when we're not. But like,
actually, sounds like they wouldn't have been the worst neighbors to have.
And most of the time, they were spending their time in caves.
Sure.
And like, not really doing a whole lot else, because they're like, the caves is where you want to be for the end times, because this guy's going to be fired. You want to be out in wooden buildings.
So Batman pious confirmed.
So they start going, there is a cave that's kind of associated with it, and as a place you can currently go to called...
And it's not the Mark Twain cave, because I've been to that cave.
No, it's the Cave of Kelpius.
Sure.
Though it looks about the same size as a spring shed, which was literally meant to keep things from going into a water spring, so you could keep drink from it. And there's not a lot of evidence that it wasn't just that, but it's been honored and sanctified as like, yeah, this is and they put like a little thing to...
Is that the monolith that you showed me?
The thing to sort of commemorate this is like a thing, sort of to keep the memory alive. And you can go there now. It's on the outside of Pennsylvania. But these caves that they were using, waiting for the end times, and they are having celebrations all the while. A lot of German holidays, so the Oktoberfest joke wasn't entirely out of the question.
Wonderful.
But a lot of religious holidays, like the eve before John the Baptist was like baptized. Like there were a lot of weird holidays that have since fallen into obscurity, but they would celebrate. And apparently, while doing their rituals, angels would appear, but only they saw them, though. So don't. Yeah, that's a thing that I'm getting real sick and tired of learning about these different people who try and form cults is like unreliable history and the fact they keep writing manifestos. This guy wrote two.
Great.
One was his journey to America. The other was a series of hymnals he wrote.
By the way, and people don't know this, there's an entire episode that we haven't released, and unless we hate our listeners, may never release, that is an hour of you talking about an insane guy who tried to build a living machine in the Wild West.
Yeah, John Murray's Spear. You can look that up and it'll probably be more entertaining.
Well,
there's a lot of misinformation out there.
But,
yeah,
so you have looked into insane people for this before.
And I must tell you, there's not been a single sane person who has started off Christian and then decided, I'm going to do something unique and veer away from my Christianity, and I'm going to write a manifesto. No sane person has ever done that.
So what you're saying is that normal people generally don't start cults.
Or write anything they call a manifesto.
Fair enough.
I hate that. End times came for the designated time.
Uh-huh.
Nothing much happened.
Okay.
Spoilers. The world didn't end in 1690.
Prove it.
And
yeah, I didn't think you could.
What now? If you're someone who starts a cult, the whole thing's like the world's gonna end, and it doesn't end.
Yeah.
What do you do about it? Because this
do you
guy.
want my answer or the insane answer?
I'll take both.
My answer would just be like, oh, you know what? Because of our devout religion, God has spared us longer, but you have to keep giving me money and doing what I say. The insane answer would probably be, it did happen, but you all forgot, and there's another worse end of times coming, too. I would just keep doubling down like an insane person.
Neither. They were like, hey, the world didn't end. And so they kept kind of doing the same thing they were doing, celebrating holidays and building stuff, writing hymns. And it kept going because they're like, well, we must have just gotten the math wrong or something. But here's the thing. Our boy here, Johann, that guy so desperately wanted to see the end times, and they didn't come. He was desperate. He was praying to God every day that he would not die physically, but instead ascend like Elijah into the heavens.
So he was like legitimately Far Cry, Joseph Seed.
He was begging for that. But unfortunately, he contracted a condition that was either tuberculosis or pneumonia. And his life was nearing an end. But
so he tried to summon the end times.
No, he may have found an alchemical way of prolonging his life.
Ah.
He possibly, it is rumored, that he developed a philosopher's stone.
Explain.
A philosopher's stone in alchemy is a thing. There's various rituals go through. Usually it's a white, black, yellow, and red thing all combined, and it creates a stone that lets you turn lead into gold, or lets you heal wounds, or, in the most extravagant case, keeps you young forever.
Seems useful.
And supposedly he had one.
And he changed his name to Gwyneth Paltrow.
No, but I want you to remind, this is a Transylvanian occultist who came to America with a Doomsday cult and now has a plan for immortality. I just want to reestablish that is the situation we are in.
So basically, the Doctor Doom from the 8 Martini Psychic episode is not the only Doctor Doom story we're going to tell. Because this is a very Fantastic Four villain origin.
Now, we don't know where his body is.
I mean, he's still among us, obviously.
Well, there's a story that is rumored that whatever, because it could keep him alive, but the tuberculosis was just getting to him. And he couldn't handle the pain more. He was like, I'm willing to die.
It's not that the stone didn't work, obviously.
No, he handed the stone that had been sealed in a box to his to one of his servants, one of the many members, and was like, throw this into the nearby river and have it just never seen again, like have it lost to the waves. And the servant is like, goes out, has the box, but like there might be a source of immortality in the box, so he kind of just hides it on the shoreline.
I really thought we were about to set up he throws the stone into the water and it becomes the Sword in the Stone and the Lady of the Lake, but for the American version of
there is actually a historical site that this guy was a learned man. He probably knew the story of King Arthur and was literally throw it into the water when I die as literally a
So this cult member wanted to make his own American King Arthur.
Transylvanian
Transylvanian
cult leader.
American.
Transylvanian American cult leader of the Doomsday cult who was also magic.
And if his servant had just done what he told him to...
Well, that's the thing. The servant came back and he was like, you didn't throw it in the river. You hit it by the shore. Throw it in the river.
Oh.
So he threw it in and it supposedly exploded into lightning once it made contact with the water, and then Johann died on January 1st.
Is there any reason to believe he didn't just have like nitroglycerin in there?
No, because he was an alchemist, which alchemists were also the ones who made black powder originally.
So he could have put a bunch of sketchy stuff in there, and it did actually explode.
Yes. However, it also would have been an amazing story, and that's the thing. He wanted to die in a blaze of glory. So replicating King Arthur's, and he also claimed made some allusions that he might return, similar to King Arthur. So he's an alchemical American, Transylvanian King Arthur.
And this logo that you showed me, what's that based on?
That is the logo that they had for their order, which is a...
What's the order called?
Their order was kind of a spin-off of a different group.
Like when they tried to do Joey after Friends.
Oh.
Yeah, he was better in Lost in Space.
So, they called themselves under a couple different names, but the one that keep popping up is Rosicrucian Monks.
Is this connected to Ross from Friends?
No.
Okay.
Believe it or not everything is Friends related.
Well, they seem like they had friends.
Yeah, 40 of them. But,
39 when they got there.
Also, apparently, after, like, the end times didn't happen, they just started doing, like, a whole bunch of botany and agriculture. They, like, opened fields.
So they were just, like, farmers with hobbies.
Yeah.
And a Transylvanian King Arthur.
But their group went by a couple different names.
Hit me with them.
The one that comes up the most is the Society of the Women in the Wilderness, or Woman in the Wilderness, as a reference to the Book of Revelation.
Where there was a woman in the wilderness?
Yes.
I don't remember that at all.
No one does.
Bible Man didn't cover that. Huh?
Yeah.
Because when you said women in the wilderness, I was like, bro, I'd join. But it's just the woman and it's about the end times, maybe a little bit less exciting.
Yeah, also, they weren't all women.
Well, see, once you said that wasn't really their name, that's when I kind of figured it out.
Yeah, they changed around their names so many times that it was just like kind of weird to try and keep track of it all.
Like a startup company, anytime you fail or stumble, you just reform with a new name and refinance.
Yeah, rebranding. You know, I mean, we are all Papa John in a way.
No, I'm not.
They were also went by the Hermits of the Wissahickon, the Society of the Woman in the Wilderness, the Hermits of the Ridge, or the Mystic Brotherhood.
Ooh, that sounds like it's like the Mystic Brotherhood of the Traveling Pants.
Yes. But after Kelpius died, the Sisterhood of Traveling Pants kind of fell off after a while.
So we restarted.
There was no real leader. There was no Doomsday, which was kind of what they were there for. They didn't leave Pennsylvania. They just kind of stopped being a church because there was really no purpose behind it. Yeah, his body was buried at some point. We don't know where.
Probably in a cave.
Or he is still alive thanks to his Transylvanian immortality stone and magic powers.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's really all there is across the entire internet about this guy. Question. Does Johannes Kelpius belong in a museum?
I wouldn't say like a national museum, but like a state museum or a regional one for sure.
His cave is part of a national park.
Yeah, absolutely. Put him there, and if you put him in a book about, first of all, being America's first Doomsday cult, that's something to say. When you're the first at anything, even if it's something that you don't really succeed the most at, that's the 3 ways you get remembered. You do it first, the best, or in the most unique way possible. Those are the 3 ways you're remembered by history, and he's the first, so he makes it into.
And he also has the Transylvanian magic side to things, where even amongst all the others it laid out, he does have a vibe.
Oh, wait, hang on. Who's that? Illinois Jackson? I thought you were still in the hospital.
Yeah, guys, I'm feeling a lot better now. Heard you guys found something that could go in my museum's cult.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't do the research on it, so if it doesn't meet your standards, I don't want to get in trouble.
I hate this character.
But, as you can see, we've done some research. First Doomsday cult in America, yeah, nothing to sneeze at. I think we should probably put it closer to Elizabeth Bathory than we should put it by all the samurai we've been doing, personally speaking.
This is Andy's character. I never approved this at any point.
Oh, this is a good time for me to reveal the Metal Gear-inspired art that we had done of Illinois Jackson. Boom, it's on screen now.
Well, I guess that could work. Yeah, put it in between Bathory and the Dire Wolves. Yeah, that'll work. Keep up the good work, boys. I'm trading away the airplane, and now I'm just gonna be flying helicopters.
Right.
Thanks, Illinois.
Illinois. That I was thinking Omaha.
Bye, Illinois. Have a good trip.
Okay.
I did not install that door for that bit.
No, but it served my purposes quite well.
Anyway, yeah.
I'm gonna go hang out with Ross from Friends.
It's weird that Friends has come out more on this Philadelphia-based story than Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Well,
In fact, it came out as much as Fresh Prince and Always Sunny equally, like together.
You shut down my Fresh Prince bits.
Yes, because they're overdone.
Well, you clearly didn't watch the edgy reboot where it was a drama. No one did.
This has been It Belongs to the Museum. Yeah, we might talk about some other things like World's Fairs,
The origin of the Hummer,
yeah, Bone Wars,
Komodo Dragon, Pistol Pete,
Mount Rushmore, which is depressing.
the Mexican Samurai,
A luxury bunker that the USSR made.
Maybe some more psychics. Maybe that witch coven that the government funded to try to cast a spell on Adolf Hitler.
That's depressing.
So your tax dollars have always been put to great work. You can trust the government. They've never done anything suspicious. Now I'm off those watch lists. Thanks for tuning in.